great officer and gentleman, General Tom Lawson.
Retiring General Walter Nitinchik handing over the reins of the country's military Monday to the Chief of Defense Staff, General Tom Lawson. The former fighter pilot comes to the job with 37 years of Air Force experience and was most recently the Deputy Commander of the North American Aerospace Defense Command in Colorado. The General joins us this morning from Ottawa. Good morning and congratulations.
Good morning. Thanks very much for having me, Marcy.
So tell me how this went. You got the call and you were offered the job. How did you respond? What happened?
Well, pretty much like you just described. Got the call and was asked to take on the position of Chief of Defense Staff, and I responded as any military officer in that position would have, and that is, yes, sir, pleased to serve.
Wondering if General Walter Nitinchik offered you any advice?
Actually, Walter's given me about 3 weeks' worth of advice. It's been an excellent handover, and he hands over to me a Canadian Armed Forces that's in very good shape.
So what is your vision now as you take over for Canada's military, especially now that combat operations are over?
Well, that affords us a bit of an opportunity that Walter and Rick Hillier before him didn't really have, and that allows us some time to really take a look at what our combat experience says, because of course Libya has just recently completed as well, have taught us, and to bring that into our military doctrine, to bring our people and platforms back and to work hard to prepare for the challenges that certainly do lie in the future.
Yeah, and there are challenges. You're being asked to squeeze savings from the armed forces. Tell us how you're going to do that.
Well, that's going to be something that we'll look at very closely. As the government has said, we're going to have to do everything we can to maintain all of our military capacities and capabilities, because at the end of the day, that's what we need to defend Canada here at home and Canadian interests abroad. So all of those capabilities are brought to the table by the Air Force, Army, Navy, and Special Operations Forces. We're going to have to do everything we can as we stay tight under the budget to maintain those capabilities.
Last week's Auditor General report came with some criticism about the Department of National Defense, in particular, the management of its buildings, some 20,000 buildings. How do you respond to that kind of criticism?
Well, I think, to be clear, my role as the Chief of the Defence Staff of the Canadian Forces is to make sure that we're, it's command of the Canadian Armed Forces, and to make sure that we're ready for operations. We've got a lot of buildings, what we call real property across the country, and we have to maintain those buildings to the level that allows us to use them for operations. So as we squeeze budgets that look after those things for operational capability, there are times that we allow some of those buildings to slip below certain standards, and we have to be ever vigilant to make sure that we to bring them back up to the standards that we need to get them to.
And then there is the F-35 project, and that's been contentious, General. What do you see happening with that? You have said that you support it.
Well, I'm very happy with how that's going. I really am. I think that this is a big project, and we have several on the books. We have, of course, the national ship procurement strategy underway too, and we have to get these things right. The Canadian Forces will be living with the equipment that we buy for decades and generation and more. So with the replacement for the CF-18, it's a whole-of-government project with a secretariat led by Public Works. That has a 7-point plan, and our role in the Canadian Forces in that plan is to provide advice in the form of a statement of requirements on what's required to replace the CF-18, and then to provide advice on any options that Secretariat comes up with. And I'm really pleased that it's a whole-of-government effort, because I think that Canadians, by and large, can become more comfortable with the process and any choices that are made to replace the CF-18.
For joining us, General, and again, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Marcy.